So, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of today's module, you will be just deflecting objections like it's nothing. Just palming them away with ease, with class, with grace. Not really. Well, actually you will, but you'll be doing it under the context and the lens of pretty much the theme of this entire phase, which is service-based sales. So, with no further ado, let's get straight into today's module. So, ladies and gentlemen, in today's module, we're going to be talking about the objection obscenity. In today's teaching, we're going to go over understanding the core of service-based sales, the difference between objection and logistical issues. And a lot of people, even veteran agency owners, don't really know the difference between an objection and a logistical issue. How to handle each respectively, why heavy objection handling is absurd and actually just makes no sense whatsoever. And then I'll also be showing you how to handle logistics issue. And I will be showing you how to handle objections as well. But just knowing, what that says about the broader scope of your sales interaction with that prospect. So, service-based sales. Now, I've talked about this already, but I really just want to reinstate it once more as we're getting into objection handling, because, guys like Grant Cardone, Jerome Belfort, they are amazing at product-based sales. And they're amazing at really, just likening it to the dating world. And I apologize if this is crass. They are very good at what in the dating world would be the equivalent of sleeping with people. What we're trying to do here is we're actually trying to get into monogamous relationships with people where a person stays committed to us, where both people understand the roles, responsibilities, and it's an ongoing thing. And that's actually a lot more difficult, right? And as I said, in the same way you can't trick someone to get into a relationship with you, you can't really trick someone to, get into a service-based partnership, because they'll just get cold feet or they'll change their mind. And, a month later, you've done all this work and then now, there you go, you lost a client. And as I said, I guess that's why sometimes it frustrates me when people are like, oh, but how do I handle the objection and this and that? And it's like, well, what you're trying to do is you're really just trying to overturn the fact that this person does not believe that working with you is the best option for them. And you could trick them today and, maybe that effect stays with them for a week. But at the end of the day, they're always going to come back to facing that cold hard truth, which is they don't believe that working with you is the best option for them. So, this is just from a high level, my opinion on objection handling in the scope specifically of service-based sales. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, that's why I hold the opinion, and it's not really an opinion, it's a fact, that objection handling and also even sales, a lot of sales is very unimportant outside of that sort of framework that I give you guys. And here's the thing, you should be able to handle objections and handle doubts, but nowhere near to the extent that a lot of these product-based sales experts are teaching you, okay? And by the way, not to only say they're only product-based sales experts, they help people with B2B stuff as well. But, a lot of times as well, those are like contracts, right? Whereas ongoing service-based sales, right, where we are billing our clients monthly, right? It'd be different if, let's say, for example, like we could use a lot of those really intense objection handling tactics when it comes to a 2-day funnel build, or let's say any of you guys in here are copywriters. If you're charging 10K for building out a sales page, or writing out the entire sales page, that stuff works for one-time offers. But in the context of service-based sales, it doesn't, because as I said, as much has gone into that contract that you guys have inside the program, at the end of the day, at any moment, they could leave, right? At any moment, they could call their credit card company and say, hey, block these payments. And that's just the tough reality. And I will say, it's not something that you need to ruminate or be worried about, because as I said, as long as you guys have become clients for the right reason and you've sold them correctly, right, where it's an integrity and you're actually, working with you is actually the right move for their business, then you have nothing to worry about, okay? Now, before we move forward, it's really important that you understand the difference between an objection, doing objection handling and logistics handling, okay? Because even high-level agency owners out there, sometimes they don't know the difference between the two. And when a client says something like that, they're just like, oh fuck, the client's not signing, this is, now I got to get into objection handling mode, when literally the client will say stuff like, hey, I'm changing my, I'm rejigging my distribution channels. So, and I'm moving from a drop shipping model to a fully branded company where, we're flying stock in, we've got a distribution center, et cetera, et cetera. So this process is happening in 6 weeks or 8 weeks, right? That's not an objection, that's a logistic. The difference between an objection and a logistic, an objection is something where they're giving you a problem with no solution, right? There may even be something that appears an objection, but when they actually pose a solution to it, that's not an objection anymore. An objection is them really throwing a doubt that they have out there as a way to see how are you going to deal with it. And that's really, hey, you against me. I'm going to throw this out and let's see if you have something smart to say about it. A logistical issue is hey, I've got this impediment to working with you, but how could we work it out? For example, they might say, I'm in contract at the moment with another agency, but maybe, we could find some workaround. That's a logistical thing that you and them are on the same team and you got to figure out a way to deal with it together. Maybe another logistical issue. And by the way, I apologize I don't know if you can hear that background rain. There you go. That's London in summer for you. All the stereotypes you hear about London. Funny enough about London is statistically it rains more in both Paris and Amsterdam than it does in London. So I don't really know why London has such a bad reputation for being like cloudy and rainy and this and that. It's really not that bad. I think it's worse in Paris, Amsterdam, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, this really isn't doing much for my case here. As I said, some other examples of logistical issues is if they bring up stuff like stock management or not having a certain role in a position in order to help nurture the leads when you bring them in. This is all stuff that they can this is all impediments, but as I said, really what it is, it's about the framing. What sort of framing is there behind it? Are they saying it as like, okay, there's no openness to a suggestion of like, hey, how could we work together to move forward? Or are they saying it and they're like, okay, yeah, this is an issue, but we could work past it somehow. To give you an objection is, oh, I've worked with a lot of agencies in the past and they've never gotten good results. And by the way, an objection, they can be very similar, right? For example, that can be an objection, whereas something that's more logistical thing is like, hey, I've worked with agencies in the past and they've never been that good, which is why, I'll be honest, I'm very apprehensive to work with you, right? One is like a statement, the other one is like more of an open-ended thing. And then there's ones that are actually kind of could be a blend of both. It could be one or the other, right? And you kind of need to decipher that. One objection or one logistical issue maybe, and it's about the tone that they say it with, is I don't have time right now, right? I don't have time right now. That is a objection, right? Whereas a logistical thing is like, I really just don't have time right now, right? You can tell that there's like a yearning to actually move forward with this. And if you can show them, hey, here's how you move forward with it without it really taking up much of your day-to-day and much time in practice. As I said, some statements are a fine line between an objection and a logistical issue. So real quick, let's talk about some common objection handling. Now, if they say, I need to check with my business partner / spouse. Once again, that could be an objection or a logistical problem. Now, all of you guys should be recording, via Zoom, right? So if they say that, you go, no worries. That's actually why I record every single meeting, just in case someone else needs to be involved in the decision. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this recording right after this call. And apart from that, real quick, let's just get a 15-minute follow-up meeting in the calendar somewhere in the next 2-3 days, because that should give you enough time to think about it. So that's one way that you can go about it, because I said, don't let them like just get off the call. And this is really the biggest thing when it comes to objection handling, is don't ever let them get off the call without an action being taken. If you genuinely believe that they are a good client and that your service is the right thing for them, don't let them get off that call, because sometimes they do genuinely need to speak to their spouse. And this is also the big reason why I record a lot of Zoom calls, because then they can show the Zoom call to their spouse, their business partner, their whoever else they need to speak to. Okay, but don't let them get off that call, and don't trust in them that they'll just, follow back up. No, instead send them that recording, but then also get a time in the calendar within the next 2-3 days to have a 15-minute follow-up. Another way to also deal with that objection is you go, that's understandable, have a chat with them, and just remember that because they weren't on this call with us, they may not share the same excitement. So you really got to show them the value of this conversation further. And by the way, guys, in this case, let's say their name is Sophia. Sophia, you and I, we're on the same team here, right? Now we just got to convince, your husband, John, and hopefully things will be a-okay. But Before that happens, let's just go ahead and pencil in a 15-minute follow-up call sometime in the next 2 to 3 days. So that's how I will deal with that objection slash legit. This is, as I said, this is one of those where it could be objection or a logistical thing. This is how I deal with situations like that. I will use that second method of objection handling. And by the way, guys, this will all be in a plug and play right below this video, so you don't need to make any mental notes or anything. Or, you don't need to write this down word for word or anything. I'll use that second one when me and the prospect have really vibed well, right? Like we have gotten along super well and it just seems like it's a home run. And the thing is, there's another person whose decision needs to be taken into consideration in order to get this over the line, right? Now, when that happens, and I said, I vibed really well with that person, I'll say that statement and I'll be like, by the way, if their name's Sophia, by the way, Sophia, you and I are on the same team here. Like we know what happened in this meeting. We can tell that this is the right move for your business. I'm excited to move forward. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're super excited to move forward. So, it's us, and now we just got to get John on board. So yeah, we're really in the same boat here. And what that does is psychologically, like, it's like, okay, we're already in a partnership, right? And it really just cements that really good first interaction. And it just doubles down on the fact that I'm like, hey, Sophia, like, really what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to make it clear, like, hey, you have to convey the value to John, otherwise he's not going to see it, right? So you and I are on the same team here. Now we just got to get John on board and things will be amazing, right? So yeah, that's I guess that's a little bit of the psychology behind why sometimes I'll use that second one or I'll use that first one, depending on what the scenario is and who I'm speaking to. Now, another objection is I've worked with other agencies before and they never seem to get the results they promise. Now, here's what you'll say. It's funny. Every single one of my clients have said the exact same thing. I think finding the right agency is kind of like finding the right partner. Let's be honest. You have to go through a lot of bad apples, but once you find that right one, you realize that the entire process was worth it. So there's certain statements that clients will make that you can't really disagree with. Like, how are you meant to, you'll have a lot of sales trainers out there and they'll try to find weird ways to step around it. Like, look, here's the thing. If a client is telling you, hey, I've worked with agencies in the past and the results haven't been great, then there's really no way to deny what they've experienced. All you have to do is acknowledge it and make a case for why this time is different, right? So in this instance, you can make a case for it by saying that, a lot of my previous clients have said that, and I know it's frustrating going through that process, but once you find that right one, it makes all those bad ones worth it, right? Exactly like finding a partner or getting into a relationship or finding a husband or wife, right? Or another way that you can approach it is you can go, yeah, Sophia, I totally empathize with you, but I'm going to ask you a question. Be very honest with me here. What was your initial experience like with these other agencies when it came to their professionalism on the call? Actually asking you specific questions about the business, not just your marketing, but about your cash flow, why you started the business, and everything that is so important. But most marketing agencies are so boxed into just the ads, or if you're doing email marketing, just the email marketing, that they can't see the scope of the other business and really hear you out and understand what you're going through as a business owner in specific niche, right? So for example, in that instance, really when someone says something like to you, you have to acknowledge it, right? When someone says, hey, I've worked with agencies in the past and they've never been able to deliver results. As I said, with that first option that I gave you guys, you're acknowledging it and you're going, I know, it sucks. Sometimes you have to go through a lot of bad apples to find that one great one. But when you find that one, it makes all the bad apples worth it. That's one option. Or as I said, another option is if you're very confident in the way that things are going and, you can tell this person is really bought in, but they just have a bit of PTSD from working with other agencies. I'll just call it out straight away. And I'll be like, look, compare the experience that you've had over the space of our 2 calls together, let alone working together. What's that experience been like compared to the experience that you had when you onboarded were sold with these other agencies? I'm curious, Sophia, is it a 9-day difference? Because I would imagine that it is. And that's exactly what it's like when you work with us. So that's 2 ways that you would deal with that objection right there. Next objection you might get is it's not the right time. And here's a couple ways that you would deal with that. When will it be the right time to have, and you're going to put in the outcome from their emotional buy-in section, right? So, to use an example, well, Sophia, when will it be the right time to have a marketing partner that you're proud and feel safe with, so that way you can remove yourself from that part of your business and really focus on the things that'll grow it? Now, here's another way to deal with the objection of it's not the right time. Sophia, honestly, I don't think you'll ever feel like it's the right time. That said, the longer that you leave this, the longer your competition gets an edge on you, and quite frankly, the more you get left in the dust. Next objection you might get, I can't afford it. To which you reply, well, you can't afford not to. Because let me ask you a question, Sophia. What do you think the opportunity cost is of not moving forward with this? And this is really where you throw it back on them. And if you've done a good enough job at the sort of digging phase as well as logic phase, right? Then it's just like the whole, my style of sales is just like, how can I make it a no-brainer? Like, how can I make it so, because what a lot of people will do out there, and what most people, as I said, that I've seen in the SMA industry, like over the last few years, what they'll do is they'll try to just like, they never tackle the question head on, like from a logic perspective, like how do I make it so this is literally a no-brainer? So it would be so dumb if the client didn't move forward with this. And how can I structure, like, I care more about my offer and what I'm presenting to the client than my sales skills or my objection handling skills. I know that if my offer is on point, I don't really need to actually be good at sales or objection handling or this, that. And I don't believe I am, to be honest. I just think I'm really good at my offer and just making it a no-brainer. Okay. So if you have that on point, if a client goes, I can't afford it, then it's very easy to push back on them and go like, hey, well, you also can't afford to keep doing what you're currently doing because it's yielding the results that you're currently getting. And if we want to take you from X to X per month, you've already admitted to me that this is going to be the only thing that's going to get you there. So my question to you, Sophia, is, are you making a logical choice here? Or is there something deep down that you're scared? And I totally understand that. And maybe that might be scared because you've been burned in the past, or maybe it might be scared because you're actually scared of what it'll be like when you do actually achieve that revenue number we've talked about. So ladies and gents, that's just me kind of spitballing and, just going off what I'd say in those circumstances and stuff like that. But as I said, when your offer is good, you can always just refer back to it and refer back to what they said in the digging and the logic phase. Whenever they're like, oh, I don't know about the price, or I don't know if I don't see the value and all this other crap, right? You can just refer back to exactly the stuff they said. Next question they might ask is, how much time do I have to decide? To which you go, well, how much time do you need? What's your gut instinct telling you? That's a really good one, just to get a pulse on what they're feeling. And the other thing you can do is you can actually kind of box them in and go, as I said earlier in the call, it's going to be a yes or a no. So, this is actually probably my fault. Maybe I haven't explained the services well enough. Are there any other questions I could answer to help make this an easier decision for you? So with that second one, you're actually taking blame and you're going, oh, you know what, this is actually my fault. I probably didn't explain it as well as I should have. So is there something that I left out, or is there something that I could kind of explain a little better that would make your decision a little easier for you? And if they go, no, I genuinely just need like a day or two to think about it, then don't press farther than that. Like, some people actually just genuinely do need some time to think about it. Now, the next thing to cover is logistics handling. Now, when it comes to logistics handling, it is not about being a salesperson. It's about being a problem solver. Because usually the biggest logistical issue that you'll get is in terms of timing. Hey, it genuinely, for me in my business, it makes more sense to start in 6 weeks or 8 weeks than it does, today. Now, sometimes clients have said that to me, and based on everything they've told me about their business, that's true. I know that's true. I know they're not trying to beat around the bush. I know they're not trying to stall the decision or this, that. Like, I am in agreement with them that, it's better to start in, for them, 90 days or 60 days. But there's also been certain scenarios where they want to start in 4 weeks. So what I actually do is I will bill them that day and go, hey, for the next 4 weeks, we're almost going to work for free, and I explain to clients like, hey, when you pay from that day we start working and we onboard you, and onboarding and getting your copy written and all that stuff, it usually takes 7 days. So the first 7 days you're paying for prep, not really, actual delivery, which makes total sense because obviously we're still having to do a lot of work to onboard you. So I tell clients, I'm like, hey, look, instead, I agree. We'll start in 4 weeks. We'll get the invoice paid today. And then rather than you having to pay again in 30 days, I just bill you the next time in 60 days. So you almost get the first 3 days for free. So what you're paying for now is day 1 of ads running to day 30 of ads running. And I'm just going to go ahead and pop in an actual sales call, really just to depict like a perfect example of how I did this.
On the demo that you guys got a new website rolling out over the next few weeks or something like that?
Yeah, so there's a few new things happening, and this is why I asked about rolling it out. Because all that stuff is rolling out in 3 to 4 weeks, it would be nice to start. And I don't want to put it off, but we're going to have so much new things. In terms of starting, I'd love to just, because I've been on this road for a while trying to get all that shit basically done, and it's nearly done. So I would like to start when we get all that done, if that's cool with you guys.
Amazing. So what we'll do now is we'll actually onboard you as a client, and rather than billing you next month, we'll bill you 2 months from now. Because if you're going to become a client either way, like if we have, usually once a client onboards, we get their ads up. Well, we tell clients 7 to 10 days, but it's usually closer to 5 to 7. Instead, we're like razor quick in terms of the way that we move, onboard, this, that. I mean, it's no extra cost to you. We're kind of a part of your team for 30 days, almost free technically.
Okay.
And I can bill you today, and rather than billing you next month, I can bill you in 2 months from now.
Okay. And so you guys want to just get on board straight away, is it?
That way we can get you onboarded straight away. That means that we can just write an excessive amount of creative, take a look at your data, get you set up in terms of your reporting, and yeah, just all in all, just almost be a member of your team, kind of look around and just give any advice that we can.
So guys, I need to lead by example here, and this is a perfect example of what happens when you are a more veteran agency owner. You see, beginner agency owners here would be like, oh, okay, great, they want to start in 3-4 weeks. I know, why hold it off 3-4 weeks with the possibility that they change their mind? This is already an incredible deal. Pretty much we only get compensated on the upside, but people change. And this person was very, very positive. The interaction was very, very positive. Let's say if I did wait 3-4 weeks, I still know that there's 70% chance that it will move forward, but there's that 30% chance. And I know any amount of time you leave a deal, that leaves opportunity for second guessing, and I don't want that. So, someone who potentially was in their first year of agency life might think, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna wait 3-4 weeks. They're a client, they're a sign. I knew, nah, screw that. I'm gonna take payment today. And once again, it's always in the client's best interest. I go, look, that's fine, because either way, it takes 5 to 7 days for us to get rolling. So what we'll do is we'll actually take payment today, and rather than billing you in 30 days, I'm gonna bill you in 60 days and then go forward with the rolling month by month, or the 30-day billing cycle in general. Because what I want to do here is I'm gonna lock in the payment today rather than billing them in 4 weeks, right? And if we start in 3 weeks, it's totally cool with me. That's fine. I'll just bill them, if we start in 3 weeks, then I'll bill them 30 days after for their second month, because they've already paid technically for their first month. And the way that I'm framing it, and it's true, is like, look, that just means that we have 3 weeks to spend more time doing creative and more time doing copy, and there's no downside to it. The only upside is from their end, the positive for them is, all right, we just have more time to look through creatives, write copy, etc., etc. So we get to just kind of we have more preparation time, and then on our end, the benefit is I get to lock in payment today and you are a client. Awesome. So yeah, that's just big difference there between like a rookie and a veteran agency owner. A rookie agency owner would be like, oh, okay, yeah, they're a signed client. They've agreed. And as a veteran, until that payment is coming, they are not a client, and you do not want to leave any length of time for them to reassess or rethink things. So yeah, very, very important right there.
Now, this was a situation where I genuinely thought it was in the client's best interest to sign on that day, right? And the billing only kicks in on day 1 of when we work together. So that, I told him, I was like, look, the next 3-4 weeks, what that allows us time to do is allows us time to create more copy and really just do a lot more prep and not rush into things, which sometimes we have to because a client has paid and, they're paying for that time that we're creating copy, building out the strategy, building out the campaign structure, et cetera, et cetera. Now that's that scenario. A lot of times, when a client tells me, hey, for this such and such reason, it makes more sense to start in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks. And I'm in agreement with them. I tell them, yeah, totally agree. And I always tell them, I'm like, okay, let's kick the can down the road and let's go ahead and pencil in a follow-up call 2 weeks before the date when we intend on starting, right? And as I said, you just got to use your best judgment and your honesty as to what you think is best for the client, whether it's best for you to take payment there and then, which you should always push for, right? Like if it's in the space of the next 4 weeks, then of course it makes sense. They can pay on the spot there. Then you just have the next 3-4 weeks to really prep, and they're not paying for that time, right? Which is beautiful. So that way their first billing day is the first day that they run ads. So they'll only get billed again 30 days after that. So that's probably an easier way to explain things, looking back at that sales call. Just go, hey, we're going to take payment now, but your first billing day will be the day that we actually run ads. Whereas with all of our other clients, the first billing day is the first billing day, and then we start with the prep and this and that, et cetera, et cetera. Now I want to show you another example of logistics handling. Now they didn't have any issue in terms of like timing or not seeing the value or this or that. With them, I was making the offer and I could tell that there was something holding this person back. And what I knew I needed to do in that situation is I needed to re-explain what we were doing. Basically, this info product business, and we were kind of like building out like a new sort of funnel for them. I mean, you'll hear in the sales call. But anyway, so I knew that what I needed to do was I needed to really just sort of reinstate what we were doing and put this person at ease. And this is, as I said, when it comes to logistics handling, I know some people will be like, oh, this person didn't sign because they weren't interested, right? And it's like, no, when you're doing this long enough, you can just tell by the way someone's eyes darts around, or by like their tonality, or just by like their overall energy and how it, the ebbs and flows through the call, when they're like, they feel safe and secure and when they don't. And I knew that even though I had made an amazing offer to this person that made total sense for their business, and funny enough, this client actually has been with us for over 18 months now. I knew that I just needed to explain it a little better. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that clip now.
Funnels we do, we don't want someone to wait for us to build the funnel within the retainer instead of paying a 2-day training with him. And at the 3 months, we don't get to see that, and we don't get to do what we do to get these funnels like really working great.
Your other option is you can do 3-month minimum, but then we'll have to charge you $15K for the case study funnel build.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer.
True.
So at this point, I pitched the price, I pitched the minimum retainer, and you can tell. Here's the thing: I knew that he was sold, but there was something. Like it was very. I mean, obviously, just based on his tonality, like in any normal instance, I'd be like, oh my god, this is like he seems so unenthusiastic. That was just sort of his tonality. So it wasn't anything different from the rest of the call. But my point is, I knew that there was something. Like I knew that there was a logistical question. I knew that there wasn't, because to me, there's a very big difference between objection handling and logistics handling. Objection handling is they're not sold on it, so they're trying to test. Whereas logistics handling is they're sold on it, but they just need to wrap their head around the logistics or what is actually being delivered in the service. And that comes through a little later on. But when basically he asked, I think I'll go ahead and skip this portion of it for you. But as I said, he has this current system that's doing multiple 5 figures a month. We're gonna come in, we're gonna improve the results on his current system, but we'd like to move him to a new system of actually selling his product. And we're gonna do that, for us, we've done it many a time. Usually we charge 20 and 25K for funnel builds. And, in this instance, it wouldn't be too hard for us. It would take Kieran and Danny probably around like a day or so. So, it was something I was willing to stomach in the price, as I said, to do a 6-month minimum. But anyways, my point is he was afraid that we were gonna move to this new system and just start running ads to this new system and just get rid of the old system. And he was afraid that like he would lose a 50K a month business. So he was sold on the service. We just needed to explain that, look, not only are we coming in and managing your current system to get sales, we're gonna improve it, we're gonna take your hands off of it, but simultaneously we're gonna start building out this new funnel. We're gonna run some ads to it, and then once this is outperforming this, then we'll get rid of the old system. And I actually, I'll show you a bit where I kind of explain it a little better, because I wanted to make it very tangible for him.
What you're doing from 3 days from now, you don't need to worry about your current ads anymore. From 3 days from now, from 3 days from now,
we're taking over. Yeah,
we're taking over your current existing model. We're improving it, and we're getting costs down. And we're doing that, as I said, by the way, we run our ads as well as the copy. And while we're doing that, right? So while we're making you more money with your existing model, we're gonna build this new model that then will. So right now you're fired. Like we're firing you right now. You're fired from your ads, okay? And then hopefully in 2 months we can fire ourselves again by moving on to this new model, and we can also fire your sales, your DM, your messaging guys, and save you 4K a month in expenses that way, because a machine is doing it. And a machine never wants a raise. A machine never wants a raise in commission. Is sick. Is tired.
Doesn't sleep.
Sleep. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Really good. So that's basically what I was hoping, or just to make sure that the current model is getting improved at the same time you're getting the better.
Okay, so that clip right there depicts it perfectly. I told him, I was like, look, you're fired now. Okay, you're gonna go focus on the CEO shit. You're fired now. We're gonna come in, we're gonna improve the model. And then while we're improving this model, we're building the new model, we're gonna fire ourselves, hopefully in 2-3 months. And once again, I think that's where it really landed. It hit home, and the deal was then closed. I just had to put his mind at ease on that logistical issue. Non-objection, to me, it wasn't objection handling, it was logistics handling. I forgot to mention the other thing that I mentioned there is you're firing yourself, you're firing your old model, and we're saving you money. And it's superfluous to pay $4 grand a month to these closers when a machine will just do it.
Amazing. So let's move forward.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Let's get you onboarded. Can you just drop here on your Zoom chat? Can you drop your company details?
Yeah.
So as I said, with this client, I knew that there was something going on in, in their head where they didn't understand how we were building this new client acquisition method and, how we're building that while we were still running their other. And then we would wait until one was better or one was yielding better results. And then we would make that full switch over, et cetera, et cetera. So I just knew I needed to explain that stuff. And then, there'd be no issues moving forward from there. So I find pretty much 99% of the times, objection handling is just you have not made a good enough offer, or you've just made an offer to the wrong person that you should have never made an offer to. I've basically never really get objections. Wow. Right? And as I said, that's because I only make offers to the right people. I make offers that are really just no-brainers, where I could be a great salesperson, I could be a shit salesperson, I could know everything about objections, I could know nothing. It doesn't matter. I've made a good offer to the right person at the right time. And the only other impediments I've ever found in terms of sales is just been logistical issues. And as I said, when it comes to logistical issues, you're not a salesperson. You are a problem solver. You are problem solving, and you are just figuring some stuff out. So then that way, that person, you're just creating the easiest path for that person to become a client of yours. So throughout this sales journey, this is something that you are going to experience, whether that's they're revamping their website, they're changing their distribution center, they're already working with an agency and they're still in contract. You will have to be a problem solver, and you will have to figure some of this stuff out with them. And that's also why, for me, pen and paper is so powerful, because you can always jot some ideas down, jot some notes down, and then relay it back to them. So ladies and gentlemen, in today's action step is I want you to open the objection handling plug and play, write it down in your AN folder in your own Google Docs, and add a few extra ones that you think are relevant, and then also add some logistical ones too. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have enjoyed this module. I'll catch you guys in the next one.